name is Charles Sine. I'm the CEO of Anti-Fragility Health Clinic. And today our amazing topic will be on inflammation. A patient came yesterday and was not happy with me because of her results. Right? I was relaying her result and she was angry. And I was like, it is your results. I didn't fabricate them. But I live a perfect life. I eat well. I said, well, look at all that fat around your stomach. It's something, because we were looking at her inflammation markers, and it says they were high, and she's having pains in her joint. And she said, well, but I want you to make me well. I said, well, then you're doing something. And we're going to explore that with inflammation today, because inflammation is really at the source of chronic illness. So everything that we've spoken about, so what are the 6 or 7 things that are at the core source of chronic illness?
Inflammation.
No, inflammation is a secondary issue. Infections, one. What's the second one? Yes, stress I will submit to weekly. Toxicity. Genetics, nutrient deficiency.
Wrong habit of diet.
No, that's deep down later. Allergens, right? Allergens, dust, mites, all those things that, things that are alien to us. So if you look at these 6 things, or 7 of them, as we step into the whole area, what is the body's reaction to anything that's alien? The body's reaction to anything that's foreign to itself is to fight or flight. When do we flight? When we know we'll be overcome.
Yes.
Right? So that's why we don't fight cancer, we actually run away from it, right? Because you cannot win, right? It's really challenging. It will overpower all yourself. So when we look at toxicity, when we look at infections, sorry, my writing today is, when we look at genetic risk, when we look at allergens, we all understand what allergens are. When we look at nutrient deficiency, and what I mean, some stress, what else am I missing?
Attitude.
No. I know attitude is important. We're going to be talking about that today. When you look at all of those things, they actually cause inflammation. So now, let's go into this big topic of inflammation. And I got you a lot of notes. So let's go to the first page, inflammation overview. Let's go to page number 1. Page number 1. Stay with me. Is inflammation a friend or a foe?
Oh,
No, it's not.
neither.
It's neither. Inflammation is critical for survival. If we don't have inflammation, how are we going to fight the foreign attacks? But excessive inflammation is the problem. And so, in the old days in the village, people had, they had rivals, predators, and pathogens. That was all that challenged us, right? In the old days in the village. You see that picture there? In my village is still like that. And so you had 2 strategies. You had avoidance, right? And then you had wound healing and fighting infections, and the benefit was a robust inflammatory response, right? Very powerful. And then over the evolution of time, look at modern life. We have pathogens, we have bad food, we have toxins, and we have stress. Actually, I remember living with my grandparents that they didn't have any stress. They woke up in the morning, they went to the farms, they waited for the rains to come, and if the rains didn't come, they piped the water from the river to fertilize the farms. But today, just sitting in traffic this morning, coming here, I was kind of stressed. that people don't drive very well. You know, stupid people. The light changes and they're putting their makeup. Right? They stress me, right? And so look at the things that are really stressing us very badly. The infections have become deadly. Why? Because we're overusing antibiotics, right? Then there's autoimmunity. You know, autoimmunity is a very, very interesting kind of disease that has been showing up, which is that the body is trying to attack itself. The body is looking at itself as a foreign agent. And so can you imagine your immune system attacking the body itself? And that's why it's very compounding illness, right? So our inflammation response is still important, but the cost has become very high. Let's go to the next page. What is the normal inflammatory process? This is what we call acute inflammation. What is the normal process? So look at what the goal is. Do you need slides? Here. There's a copy here if you need some back there. So look at this diagram. So there is an inflammation trigger, right? You need pen? Yeah, we have some pads there. Where's Louise? Louise, get some pads and pens for people who want to make notes. So let's look at it. So there is an inflammation initiation, and then there's an inflammation resolution. I know there's a lot of big words here, but it's important that we understand this because from an inflammation perspective, it's important that we understand. So the goal is to localize and eliminate the trigger of the inflammation. That's typically what the goal of inflammation is. It's to localize and eliminate the trigger. For example, you cut your hand, injury. The body doesn't know what kind of injury it is, but it knows we have to heal. So what it does is that it brings all the forces, the cytokines, responsible for healing, and what happens, you then get a swelling. And that swelling is that inflammatory response to localize and eliminate. Okay? And you can read there with a lot of details about, yes.
Is then the initiation always an injury or a trauma?
It's an attack, yes. Always. Okay. Always. If I pinch you, the body's going to respond. Do you understand? Any kind of injury, if I pinch you, you're going to respond. That's why little children, when you pinch them, they cry.
Wait, you respond because it hurt, not because...
No, it is the signal, no. So the trigger is that something that is alien is touching me.
So on the outside of your body, there's an injury or a trauma. What about inside?
No, it's actually on the epithelial cells.
Okay.
So that's why if you go near something hot, the body can tell, oh, that is hotter than what it should be. You go something cold, it's colder than what should be. The body's temperature is around 98 point something. When the water is the normal temperature, the body, oh, that's normal. That sensing is part of that response. It's sensing all the time. So if I touch you, that's different from pinching.
But
That's how the body can detect.
But that's your body sensing though.
No, it's not your body. It is the
Your brain or whatever you
yes,
want to
it
call
is our response. It's our response architecture. That's sensing. But sometimes the touch is not a good touch. So you know what?
Good touch too?
There's a good touch and there's a bad touch.
Yeah, there's a good touch and there's a bad touch. Right?
Yes.
How to touch.
Depends what touch it is.
You just need to learn how to touch.
Yes.
My next question. Inflammation inside the body doesn't occur without that.
It doesn't.
Without some kind of injury. So I'm thinking like smoking.
Yes, causes inflammation.
It does. Okay.
Why? Well, yes, there's inflammation all over our
You
body.
just don't see it until.
Yeah, so when you smoke, 3 things cause inflammation. One are the toxins that are produced from the smoke. 2, it's the smoke itself, right? And number 3, it's some of the other chemicals that are part of the tobacco. So those three things are all inflammatory markers, triggers.
Is it anything else that you-
And that's why, hold on, and that's why lung cancer is an accumulation of chronic inflammation of the lungs because of smoking. Is that making sense? It's not that then plus the toxins that cause other things too.
Okay.
That's why most people in the village who smoke tobacco don't get lung cancer. It's cigarettes that cause lung cancer because of the additives and the toxins in cigarette.
Okay.
So that's why a lot of people smoke cigars and it's fine because it's
And
just
even
wrapped
the
up.
filter is so toxic.
Yeah, the filter
itself.
itself too. Correct. Are you hearing that? That's why people smoke cigars and it's okay because cigar is a wrapped tobacco, dry tobacco. My grandfather smoked tobacco all his life. He was fine. Okay? So it's important you understand. The body does not like the smoke of tobacco, but it is a much more friendlier smoke than smoke from cigarettes. Okay? That doesn't mean you go start smoking cigars.
But no vaping, no vaping.
Yeah, no vaping. Well, vaping is bad too.
Yeah.
Let's go to the next page. Okay? This is a very important topic, guys. So without robust resolution, so you saw that graph, right? Now we are back in a chemistry class. So when there is a response, so think about it. We are now on page 3, this page.
Yes.
Okay, so just follow me. So when I pinch you, right, the pain goes up and comes down, but the body then takes time to recover that. And then you're like, you get angry, don't pinch me again, even though the pain has gone away, right? There is a resolution to that.
Reaction.
It's a resolution. Yeah, which means that we return to the normal state, okay? See what happens when the resolution does not happen. So we have a trigger, and then without counter-regulatory force of resolution, the response can be excessive, right? And then without resolution, inflammation can become persistent and may lead to tissue damage. That's the big
So
challenge.
that's a chronic
Yes,
inflammation.
when it is not being resolved. So let's be very clear here about inflammation. Inflammation is fine because it has normal resolution. When inflammation is not resolved, that's when it becomes chronic. For example, people who keep smoking, what they are doing is that they're triggering inflammation. Are you okay? Yeah. Can you bend your head back and breathe? Open your airways and breathe. Okay? All right? And so when you continue smoking, it keeps the inflammation at a higher level because it's not being resolved. Every time you smoke, so it's not like, that's why if you don't smoke for a couple of days and you smoke, you can feel your body, it's like you're buzzed, like you've been drinking alcohol, because the body had resolved the accumulation of the toxins from smoking. And then when you start again after about a week, your body is buzzed because, oh wow, we thought we had dealt with this shit. You started it again, right? That's what your body is saying. Okay. Next slide. So we're on this slide. Inflammation within tissues is at the core of chronic illness. So let's look at the different kinds of inflammation. And that's why this woman was complaining yesterday. I have pain, but why is my number like that? Neuro inflammation is what leads to Alzheimer's disease, Huntington, and Parkinson's. Right? That is inflammation in the brain. And since the brain, very few things can go into the brain, one of the challenges we're going to talk about later is how you can, by dealing with GI, you actually reduce neuroinflammation. Okay? Almost 80 to 90% of inflammation comes from your GI. Because that's where you take in all the bullshit. The dirty water, the sugar, the lousy drinks, the coffee,
That was my
the
question.
bad milk.
You can get inflammation from the bad milk and the water and
Yeah, because some of people cannot tell when food is bad. They can't smell it and say the food is bad. So when you take it there, now your stomach has to deal with your bullshit decision.
so then that's inflammation. So you
Oh yeah, it causes inflammation. Sometimes it triggers you. Sometimes it triggers you to vomit.
Well, that means diarrhea or vomiting is part of the inflammation.
No, it's part of your response.
The response,
Exactly.
that's what I meant.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
it's part of it. You okay? And find your phone.
She's a big
We're fighting.
Okay, can we put all our phones to bed?
And
Okay, vascular inflammation. What kind of inflammation is that? Vascular inflammation.
Blood circulation.
Yes. What causes inflammation in the vascular?
Blood pressure high.
No. What causes high blood pressure?
Stress.
No. Well, not really.
Maybe.
No, it's fat accumulation.
Oh yeah, there's
Yeah,
no
of course.
Right? When fat is accumulating in the blood vessels, it causes stress. Fat is not supposed to be living in the blood vessels, right? Systemic and local inflammatory environment. For example, when there's dust in the environment, right? That's why when you get into your car, every time I train you on this, every time you need to open the window. Because especially the cars are sitting in the sun now, all the plastic, all the chemicals are in the air. Then we have hepatic, which is the liver, and adipose inflammation, which is linked. That's why I have this fat, adiposity. The fat holds a lot of the toxins, and the toxins residing in the fat causes inflammation. Then joint inflammation, which leads to arthritis. So everything about inflammation is bad. Next slide. So the same thing we just talked about. So at the source of chronic illness, at the core of it is inflammation, right? Look at it, diabetes, depression, all the things that we are trying to treat or reverse or manage. All these things, inflammation is at the core of it. That's why this topic today is a very, very important topic, right? So let's look at some of the cardinal signs of inflammation in initiation and resolution. The next slide. This slide that looks like a house. When there's inflammation, there's redness, there's heat, there's swelling, there's pain, or there's loss of function. That's the protective response. What is the resolution? We remove the redness, we restore, if it was heat, we bring down the heat, right? If it was swelling, we regenerate. If there was a boil or something, there's regeneration. Or if there's a wound, scarring is part of inflammation resolution, right? The scar is to protect or rebuild. Because when you're young, this is very important. When a baby has a wound, because the stem cells are still very strong, babies really do not scar. When you're 50 years old and you have a wound, the scarring is worse.
Because you don't grow in skin, don't stretch anymore, baby.
No, it's because of stem cells being deployed. Yes, to replace and refurnish the cells. Okay? So as you grow older and you're running out of stem cells don't show up anymore in the required amount for what we call the repair and the regeneration. Right? That's why all of us now have kidney problems, liver problems, all of that because of the regeneration power. Okay? Next slide. Any questions so far?
The protective response, actually that is a reaction, right?
Yeah, that's
I'm just trying to understand
no,
that.
the protective, it's the response. It's the
Yeah.
fight or flight.
Yeah, that's a reaction. Because
Yeah, no, I'm not calling it a reaction, it's a response.
it's a response.
Yes. Well, if it's a reaction, but we call it a response. Because it needs a trigger, and therefore there's a response. Right? And what is it for? It's for survival. It's necessary for us because, for example, little kids who have not built really good response will see a snake and play with the snake. Why do we run from snakes?
Because we know the kid doesn't know nothing. So that's
Correct.
You
But,
don't
but
know, you don't
until the
know.
snake bite the kid, the
Well,
kid does not know
Yeah.
that the snake, my
It's
response
dangerous.
should be to run.
Yeah.
Same thing with a knife. We know that the knife is dangerous until the knife is even, little kids will put their hand in the fire. Oh, okay, now you know. Don't put your hand in the fire anymore, right? When we were kids, my mother is frying plantains, we'll be taking it out of the frying pan. But we had resistance. Okay, now we go into deep biochemistry. Let's go into the key enzymes. I'm not going to spend too much time here, but you see that's how the body responds, right? It liberates this acid from the cell membrane. That is very helpful for that process. Let's go to the next page. There are a lot of key enzymes to look at. Let's turn. You can always go read this when you cannot sleep at night. It will make you sleep.
Is this without supplementation? It just automatically happens?
Yes, but that's why we supplement. Because for example, our biggest one and our biggest seller, SPM, right? Dr. Yi used to just sell this a lot, and people had resolution for some time, then it stops working. So this will resolve, but at the core of resolution is the body's own capacity using nutrients to respond over the long term. So this would respond short term, but this is not a long-term solution to inflammation, resolution. So a lot of people were thinking that they should use this, and that's not a good idea. Then we also have the response from the mucosa, right? When you eat gluten, you eat bread, all of that, leaky gut. Once your gut lining is violated, we now have a big inflammation response issue. Yes, and that's why most Americans have chronic inflammation. It's really from their gut, eating lousy food.
So, but if you take one of those packages that help digest,
You take 4 things.
probiotics, prebiotics, probiotics, digestives, and fiber.
My God! You should be teaching this class.
She's a professor.
I know! Now we have made you assistant professor. Those 4 things are important. The digestines, the enzymes, because all of us are struggling as we grow older with the right enzymes. The probiotics, Kim was arguing with me earlier, because we gave out 1 mandatory and 1 optional, because you need diversity of the bacteria. Then you need fiber. Why do we need fiber, Elizabeth? You brought that up.
They process the ingredients through the body.
No.
To feed the bacteria. To feed the bacteria.
No,
Yeah.
to feed bacteria?
Yes.
Yes.
And to slow down the flow so that the body can absorb. Yes.
I thought fiber made you full.
No, it does. But the fact in the making you full like Metamucil, it's really to slow the digestive process so that the body can absorb more nutrients out of the
Oh, I
body.
just gotta go through all
Yeah,
that.
if not, it will just flow through you.
Oh.
So like people who eat and go poo immediately, you should give them fiber so it can slow it down so the body can absorb it. Okay? And it's very important. So these things continue. Let's go to this beautiful page. Later at night tonight, you can read all the chemistry. So this is another one. It's inflammation and pain, the key regulator for gene expression. So this is the challenge, right? Because we don't have any way to measure pain. Pain is all perception.
So what you bleeding?
Yeah, there are people who are bleeding and don't feel pain.
In the
I don't
hospital,
know
there is a
about
scale
that. I don't
of
know
1, 2, 3,
about
4.
that. I don't know about.
What do you mean that you don't know about? There's no measurement for pain. It's a perception.
Clinics come up with measurements for pain.
They can't.
No, it's a perception.
It's a perception. They ask you like,
They ask
from 1
you.
to 10, how do you feel?
Yes.
That's
That's
they
a
don't ask you from
perception.
1 to 10, how do you
We
feel?
don't have any measurement for pain
Okay.
because everybody's perception of pain is very different.
I see.
right? That's why those football players have a different level, and Schwebers have a different level. Somebody like him who was in the trenches in Vietnam in war, the perception of pain is different from Chad who never went to war. Right.
We're on that war now.
I know. So a lot of other big stuff. Let's go forward. Okay. So let's go to this page. All right. So this guy has pain in the knee, right?
Yeah.
And so when there is an inflammatory response, we recruit the chemokines and all of those things, and the white blood cells. Why are white blood cells recruited to the local site for inflammation? What is it about white blood cells that they are required for them to be recruited to the site of inflammation?
They probably absorb
To
oxidation or
carry
something.
the oxygen.
No. What is white blood cells? What are they?
They take toxins out.
No. This is a very important question. When we do your complete cell count, we're counting white blood cells and red blood cells. What is the function of white blood cells?
Immunity?
Correct.
That was just a lucky guess.
But it's a very important knowledge you have to know. So when they do your cell count, if you're low on white blood cells, it means your immunity is low. So the white blood cells, that's their job. They are the carriers of immunity.
Okay.
So when they come to that site, they are what? They are inspectors of the dangers to the cell. So if it's just a wound, what would the white blood cells do?
Don't worry about it.
No, they don't. What do? They hang around in case there's infection from outside into that wound, because the body is now open, they now stand guard. And that's why you see pus on the surface of the wound.
The yellow
The
liquid thing.
bacteria is trying to come in, and the white blood cells are killing the asshole.
How about the liquid after the injury? Liquid.
No, that's just serum.
Serum, yeah.
That's just serum.
After the blood, you see the white thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
But when the wound is healing, you see it's going through that stage of pus, right? Pus. And pus is the bacteria from outside trying to enter, and the white blood cells are killing those bastards.
So that's not a bad thing when you have those.
Well, but if it's too much, that's why they have to drain it and clean it all the time so it can heal. If there's when it dries up, then that's a good thing. But typically, you would have pores as that healing process,
But
even
if
when
you
you're
don't
in the
have it, I mean, it's
hospital.
not a deep infection then.
No, it will always be there as it heals. It might be too small, but it will always be there. Because except the wound is healing where there is no infection.
That's why I meant like
Yeah,
when you
but
have a
where
cut,
is that?
when you have a cut, then you just heal by itself after the bleeding.
Yeah, but there will be some pores because there will be infection from outside. It always is. Yeah, just that you didn't pay attention. Okay? Very important. So let's go. So it shows you here how pain shows up, right? So the tissue is affected. We're on this page. The tissue is affected. Prostaglandins and leukotrienes are produced. This is vasodilation. What is vasodilation?
Your veins expand.
Yes, so the blood vessels are expanded because now we have to bring the army. It's logistics. We have to bring army supplies, white blood cells, chemokines, all of those things have to rush to the place of injury. That's why when you have a cut, it bleeds because the body is also responding. So you have to stop the bleeding, right? In the stopping of the bleeding, there's a swelling because now the forces are accumulating to fight and start the process of resolution. Okay? Next page. So now let's look at the nutritional bioactives with inflammation initiation, okay? Now we want to look at the different things that help. So go to this page. So that's why typically as we grow older, we increase the prescription or recommendation for omega-3s. Do you understand? That's a critical requirement of what we do. We increase the recommendation for omega-3s. So we actually prefer that you actually overdose on omega-3s. You really cannot overdose on it. Your body needs a lot of it because all your brain and everywhere is omega-3. That's also a fractionated omega-3. This is also fish oil. So fish oil is really a critical requirement for the management of inflammation, response, and resolution. Very, very important. Then there are other things here like curcumin, right? Which we have it right in that. Can you bring some curcumin for everybody? The chewables.
It's a capsule.
Yeah, give everybody some curcumin. Open it. Isn't it open? Yeah, open it. And then ginger, right? So there are things here that you need to take all the time because it helps with that inflammation response and resolution. So the next time you are in pain, think about taking these things, okay? Then it shows you the mechanism on the next page. Let's move to the next page. It shows you the mechanism of how it actually works. Right? So it looks at the omega-3 fatty acids and it goes into a lot of detail there. Don't want to spend too much time on that detail. Let's go to this page. So they collected this thing from hops. What are hops? What's hops?
Make beer.
Yes, so that's the thing that they make beer from. They have inflammatory properties, anti-inflammatory properties. So in the mouse model of induced arthritis treatment with TIAA, reduced swelling, arthritis, joint damage, cartilage degradation, and all of that. So one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about inflammation today is because pain is a big problem in American culture. And pain comes from inflammation. And so the way we are treating pain currently is not in terms of resolution, but in terms of masking.
Yeah, that's when you take painkillers.
Do you understand? Because the painkiller masks, because what it does, it dulls the neurons from transmitting the pain signal rather than to go resolve the underlying inflammation. Do you understand? It's a very important thing. And that's why we focus a lot on the GI here, and we're going to talk about that shortly. So next slide. So let's look at this curcumin slide. That's what you're sucking right now.
Yeah, it's delicious.
I know.
It's sour.
Yeah, Kim, it is delicious.
It's chewy and sticky.
Yeah. So curcuminoids and the isolated constituents, you see where it comes from. It's from turmeric, right? Cucuma longa. It has culinary and potential therapeutic uses. The culture that cooks a lot with turmeric is Indian culture because of Ayurvedic cooking. Most of that cultures don't really use it. My grandmother used it only like once a month.
We use it.
You cook with curcumin?
Actually, we use it for healing skin.
Yeah, but
because
hold
we
on.
use
I was talking about the
Yeah.
culinary before the therapeutic.
Yeah.
So a lot of cultures don't use it. And the benefit from eating that is because it actually helps with the gut inflammation.
So turmeric is curcumin.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they are the same thing. They're the same thing. All right, look at the properties, right? So if you have stomach ache, you take curcumin. It reduces pain, right? So a lot of patients that have neuropathy, curcumin is very important for them for reducing neuropathic pain. It reduces pain in arthritis. It also acts as an antioxidant. So curcumin is considered to be a superfood.
Yes.
It's a food that has a lot of benefits for human beings, right? So that's why Indians will put it in almost anything.
I want to share my experience with turmeric.
Yes, go ahead.
Like, no, not the turmeric, ginger. For 6 months, I ate it almost daily.
Yes.
I would cut it into small pieces. I take the skin off and just eat
You're
the
talking
white.
the ginger or the
This is the ginger.
ginger?
For about 6 months, I ate it almost every day, and the reason I put it in, I cut it in little pieces that I could eat, and I put it in paper. And then when I go to the gym, be exercising, sometimes I just get tired, and I eat a piece, and just in a couple of minutes, my energy is back up, and I'll be exercising again. And it worked.
The two superfood, ginger and curcumin.
Yes. So I want you to go to the ginger page. So can we go to the ginger page?
Ginger like
Yeah, let's just confirm what he's saying. Go to the ginger page. There's a page there on ginger.
We'll go back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So let's look at ginger root. It contains several consequences that you can look at that and those properties. It's analgesic, it's anti-inflammatory, and it's just the same like curcumin.
Yeah.
So you know, in most cultures, like my culture, ginger is considered also a superfood.
Yeah, we use it.
Actually, my mother would put it almost in every soup that she cooks. Yeah, go ahead.
Actually,
Soup.
in our culture, because in South Korea, it depends. For me, I always feel chill in winter.
Yeah.
Serious chill, and it helps me a lot to have energy.
Warm.
And
Yeah.
but then
Warm
my
you up.
younger sister,
Yeah.
who has opposite feeling
From
you know,
it.
in winter, she always is sweating.
Yeah.
And then when she takes some ginger, and it gets worse.
Yeah,
So
so
it
the Chinese would tell you that
Yeah.
there are cold and hot
Yeah.
people.
People.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, with
exactly,
ginseng
right.
also,
Yeah,
you
it's
know that,
evening
right?
out.
Yeah, so it depends
Body.
your body type. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some people would take ginseng and it is bad for them, and some people would take red ginseng and it is good for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it depends on your body type and the body temperature. Yes.
So the ginger is one of the kind of food which
Yes.
affects in very
Different ways.
different ways.
Yes, for your body type. Exactly. Exactly.
People cook with it too, because like when you cook the ginger remove the smell of the meat also.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's right.
Like you cook chicken stew or something like that, or you put ginger in there.
So look at
Oh,
the
it
key.
tastes
So
good.
so the key enzymes for reducing inflammation pain. If you look at them, curcumin and ginger
Yes.
have all the enzymes necessary for pain reduction.
Wow.
Well,
Yes.
because that's part of Eastern Asian medicine
Yes,
that we use.
yes. Especially
we always use
Chinese
history
medicine
historically.
has a lot of curcumin and ginger.
ginseng, ginger,
Yeah,
all
yes.
the roots.
Okay.
Yes.
All those roots that
Yeah,
were given
yeah,
to
yeah.
us,
Next
right?
lifetime, I'm going to Asia.
All right, so let's go to this page, the summary page. So there are three foods that we're looking at. I didn't talk about the xanthocumol.
What is it?
It's like a flower thing, yeah. Look, the picture is there. So I focused on the curcumin and the ginger because I wanted to make sure that we understood something that was much more natural. Okay? Something that was much more natural in the environment. Okay? So if you look at the next page, we talks about the mechanism of action. So there are two mechanisms of action. One is the moderation of pro-inflammatory cytokines, right? So I want you to understand what those things are. Those pro-inflammatory cytokines are the first soldiers who show up when there's an inflammatory trigger. They come and they scout what the problem is. Then they relay the message for the kind of response we should go for, right? Remember, even in Vietnam in the military, you had scouts, the guys who go out to find out what the enemy is doing, and if they don't come back, you know, well, they didn't come back. You send new scouts out, right? You're always sending them ahead to go survey the landscape. So these are what we call the pro-inflammatory cytokines. They go to check what's actually going on. And then the second thing is the moderation enzymes that come and help with the resolution. Is that making sense? Okay? And you can see all the the comments there about that. So let's go to this page. Yeah, so I want to just walk through the summary now, what we call the mechanistic takeaways. So there are several nutritional bioactives that modulate inflammation initiation, including these products we've gone through. There are moderate several key mediators of inflammation and pain. We've gone through that. And there are ones that act upstream and downstream. And you can see that these products are actually better than the opioids that Americans tend to prefer, right? The opioids are blocking pain, and these products are resolving pain.
It
So
takes a little longer to not feel the pain with
the ginger and the
ginger.
curcumin and those
and
things.
that is immediate, those.
Yes, I understand. The blockage is immediate, that's why,
But it
but,
doesn't resolve
but it does not resolve it.
It's not resolved.
These things are resolving. Yes. Do you understand? It's a very important distinction that it's, and so that desire for immediate gratification is at the source of a lot of destructive issues around this.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
All right? So we're going to end here, and then I'm going to take you through something that we took in yesterday, which is our new architecture for recommendations. Are there any questions on inflammation? You know our products on inflammation. We're going to walk through again so that you're very clear. It's very important that we understand what was it Elizabeth gave us the answer to. 80 to 90% of chronic inflammation is in the GI tract. And why is that? Number one, toxins. Number two, pathogens. Where are the pathogens coming from? They're coming from the food, right? A lot of our food has a lot of bacteria and viruses. Number three, thank you, allergens. Give me an example of an allergen. Pollen, the biggest one is mold.
Oh,
And a lot of food that we buy has mold.
peanuts.
Yes, dry peanut, most dry foods have mold. Especially the foods you store in the refrigerator. Most of, people like takeaway and then store in the fridge. There's a lot of mold. So all these things go into the GI tract. And that's why 80% of our immune system is around the GI. Right? The water we drink, the air, the food, all of that. And that's why we need that defense. And what's our defensive strategy? Number one is to protect the mucosa. That's what we call the protective barrier. And you should be taking a product, L-glutamine, to protect the mucosa at all times. We have a product here called, where is it? Yeah, this one, called the Mucosa, the glutagenics. It's a powerful gastrointestinal lining support. Because every time you eat bread or pasta,
Where's your restaurant?
who's that?
particular patient.
So every time that you have you eat gluten or you eat pasta, it violates the lining. The challenge with the lining of the GI tract is that it's very thin and very delicate. That's why I don't encourage colonoscopy. Most people's colon gets punctured during colonoscopy. It's a very dangerous. So the better thing is to make sure you have a clean gut. You don't need to do colonoscopy if you take care of
I
that. So,
thought you get a clean gut.
well, that's why we're talking about this. Colonoscopy is something that they recommend for you to go check whether your gut is okay. Whether you,
Oh, okay.
yeah, they recommend it every 5 years after 50, and it's very dangerous.
Wait,
Many people get their
But
gut
isn't that
punctured.
the test you took in place of doing the Ezra?
No, Ezra is just a full body scan.
It doesn't do the.
You never have to do a colonoscopy, probably.
I will not do a colonoscopy because very few doctors are good enough.
Yeah.
They're going to puncture your colon, and then it creates deep infection.
There's a new test.
Or concerned
You
about
don't have to go to colonoscopy. There's a new test for the colon.
Yeah, well, colonoscopy is what they recommend. You understand? So it causes a lot of challenges. So the mucosa is the product you use to ensure that you have the lining integrity, right? Number 2 is the probiotics. And we tend to recommend that you have type 1 and type 2. Every day when you go poo, a lot of the good bacteria is sent out. The bad boys are like difficile and all of those. If you've done your stool analysis, it's almost impossible to get rid of them. So the only strategy we have without taking antibiotics is to overwhelm them with good bacteria, right? That's the only strategy that we have. We overwhelm them with good bacteria.
Is that prebiotic? And then
No, those are probiotics,
Okay.
all right? Prebiotic is fiber.
Okay.
Yeah, we need to really remember the words here. Prebiotic is fiber. Do you remember why we need fiber?
Yes.
slow down.
Why?
That's what I said.
Absorption.
How does it work?
It
How does fiber improve absorption?
slows down the process.
Yes, it slows down the process so we can absorb it. So that's why we have prebiotics. Okay? What else do we need? What is missing from this list?
Enzyme
Why do we need
to
enzymes?
break down
Yeah, and how many kinds of enzymes are there?
to,
3.
oh,
Okay, tell me the 2 that you know.
the gluten one,
Oh, okay, you're talking about the products.
okay,
Right. So we have a gluten enzyme
and the
to break that, and we have the regular enzyme. And the enzyme contains 3 kinds of enzymes,
what does it do?
right? Enzymes for proteins, enzymes for carbohydrates,
Carbohydrate.
and enzymes for fats.
Fat, yes.
So when you're looking at the enzyme thing, that's what you want to look for: the lipases, the peptides, and the amylases. Those are the enzymes that actually, so you need enzyme. So when you have this, when you have this 4, then you have mounted a big defense.
You said enzyme is optional.
No, I said having extra is optional.
You need the name.
I'll come back to you, Kim. So typically, we put mucosa as an option. We put this one as mandatory, this as an option, prebiotic as an option,
Yes.
enzyme as mandatory. You understand? We don't put all 4 mandatory. If not, you guys will be complaining all the time.
We won't need food,
Yeah, you don't need food if you have nutrients. What is food?
nutrients,
No, nutrients and calories.
calories. You need calories.
Yeah. Well, you have enough already. Your body can burn what you have. Nutrients are more important. You don't need calories. You need nutrients.
Yeah, but you need to have something to take when you take nutrients.
You don't need something to, no, that's a justification. The body has enough energy to burn, at least for a week. You don't need food that much. You just eat because you like it. The body is not hungry for calories. The body is hungry for nutrients. Very important that you know the difference. So why do we like to eat? Because we love to eat. It's not because the body needs all that food, right? So like Victor was telling us at the opening today, he stopped eating late at night.
But he's still eating later.
Well, but see,
You can't say that, but you still eat. I'm just saying. I'm not saying that you still
Kim,
eat.
nobody said you should stop eating. I know that eating is
No,
a
you said-
celebration of life.
Yes, it's like-
I didn't say you should stop eating. But we know that the research is clear
Yes.
that for people who ate the same amount of food,
Mm-hmm.
those who ate only within certain hours
Yes, the cardio.
lost
Cardio.
weight
Yes.
because there is a regulation with regard to what we call time restriction,
Yes.
right? So it is important that even though you're eating the same amount, you understand when you're eating that food. Is that making sense? So let's go back to this. So Kim was arguing with me, no, was screaming at me why I didn't make all of this mandatory. Yeah, questioning. Yeah,
I'm
that's a
questioning
better
you.
word. Sorry, I apologize, Kim.
Yes.
Kim was
I
questioning
was
me
questioning you.
why I didn't make all of this mandatory.
Sounds like challenging.
It was a nicer way of saying it.
So we're gonna talk about it now, and I want to walk you through why most people our age end up taking about 20 supplements a day. Okay, let's walk through it and you understand why. You know, some people come here and they think I'm just trying to sell them nutrients. So we'll walk through it and you'll come to a clear understanding about it. I'm not the one who's making you grow old. It is not my fault that you have inflammation.
Maybe live longer.
I want you to live a long and healthy life. And so stop being angry with me for the challenges of your life. Right?
Right.
And you can quit at any time and die. I mean, nobody is saying you should hang around here, right, Victor? Yeah, but if you choose to hang around, let's walk through what you need. Okay? Is this making sense, guys?
Knowledge is power.
Exactly. It's the beginning of transformation. Okay, so the FDA has come out with what we call the R1, the required daily allowance. Right? We're very clear on that.
Yes.
Very few people, until they met me, were taking the required daily allowance.
99% of Americans don't.
That's why they will end up with mental
You
issues.
mean the same requirements the RDA have is the same requirements you have?
He followed the argument.
You do.
I follow the RDA. I am a Trumpite. I believe in following the law.
No, he hasn't followed the argument.
That is not true.
Let's not go there.
Not you, but about Trump.
Let's not go there.
Uh,
If we
A
get
lot
a
of
tweet,
are we now in a quid pro quo issue about the law? Can I have a copies of the RDA? Why don't we have copies? Should we? I asked
There
yesterday
was
for
a sheet.
copies to be
Yeah,
printed.
yeah.
Can we print? No, those ones are in Vietnamese. I asked, can you talk to Lexi? I need copies of that printed. So the RDA is the RDA, and the new way we are doing it, if you look at your sheet now, we are actually, no, it's okay, it's okay.
Yeah. That's a new recommendation system.
Yeah, Kim, you shouldn't be sharing that around when I'm just about to present it.
You're still looking for it.
I'm not looking for that, I'm looking for the RDA. Can we sit down, please? Can we sit down? I don't like people walking around when we're working workshop. I know you're Americans, very disobedient. That's the challenge of freedom. It's the challenge of freedom. Don't you think we should take them all to China and crack the whip on their asses? North Korea. No, oh, North Korea. Oh, I love it. Especially when they're matching.
Oh, and not starving.
Starving is good for you. Did we just go through it? That if you have low caloric diet, is good for your health. Look at the West. Everybody who's westernized is sick. You go to North Korea, they're just hungry. They're not sick. Hunger is different from being sick. Actually, low caloric diet is good for you. So don't look at them and think, oh, we are better off. No, we are overfed and they are underfed. And sometimes being underfed is healthy. That's why in prison they give you just a little food. Don't you see most prisoners look very healthy?
No, they have healthy food.
No, they don't. They give them just enough.
No, not healthy food.
I'm telling you, you don't know that. Look, do you
Let's
see
hope
people,
not.
you see people coming out of prison fat?
Because they don't do nothing, they're lazy.
Yeah, but they're not fat.
Yes.
Because they give them just a little food, the right amount. That's why, yes, they're all healthy and they exercise. You never see a prison, the guards are fat, the prisoners are all thin. Right? I know the food you may say is crappy. You know, when I was in boarding school, I just came back from our reunion and we were all complaining how bad the food was. There were no fat kids in our class because we were given just the right amount of food every day to keep us alive and healthy. Now we are overfeeding and everybody's fat and sick, right? Okay, let's go R1. So how many people here are taking R1?
What is R1?
R1, yes, is the required daily allowance. Yeah, I used to call it F1. Vin, you're taking it? Jad, you're not taking. Jad is the culprit among all of us here. He's the guilty one who is not taking R1. Okay, so R1 typically is by age and gender. All right? They call it the required daily allowance. And the reason why we are supplementing you with R1 is because none of you can eat your way through the required amount. It's not possible. Except you go live back in a blue zone where people eat perfectly and everything is right. So let's go to R2. What's our formula for R2? It's driven by what we call the imbalances. And there are 7 areas of imbalances. The GI, the immune, the cardiometabolic, hormones, energy,
Cardio.
cardiometabolic.
Sorry.
So we have how many already?
Muscular skeletal.
Yeah, oh my God, I am impressed. And the last one, stress. You guys must be reading it from somewhere. Or it's just that you are very smart patients. Yeah, very smart patients. Okay. How do we know that you have an imbalance?
Sometimes you don't.
You test, you diagnose it.
Correct.
You have
When
to
we
test.
run the diagnostics, that's how we know where your imbalance is. Okay, how do we test for your GI imbalances? Correct.
I didn't cheat. That I know.
I love it.
That I know.
And so why do we use stool as the basis for your GI?
Because that's when your gut comes to the disposal.
It's
different. Everything.
Yeah,
That's where the body gets rid of everything.
On that waste.
Right? Elimination. Right? Immune system. How do we test for your immune system?
Your blood count? Your white blood cell?
Thank you, one. And then we also look for some of the inflammation markers that are in your blood that will tell us what your response system is like, right?
Okay.
How do we test for cardiometabolic?
On the machine.
No, that's a stress test. And that stress test is for your heart rate variability. How do we test for cardiometabolics? There are 3 things we look at when we look at cardiometabolic. Number 1,
Sugar?
Yes.
Sugar, yeah.
That which is our metabolism around sugar for the
Your
district.
fat,
Yes, your lipid panel
lipid panel, yeah.
and inflammation. Right? So those are the three big things we want to look when we look at your cardiometabolic. What about hormones?
The urine.
Urine.
Yes,
Saliva.
we can also look at blood, but what are we looking for when we check your...
Estrogen?
And estrogen is what?
I'm sorry?
What is estrogen?
Your energy, that's
Hormone.
that's true.
Estrogen.
No, we talked about that.
It's a female.
Why are you calling it female hormone? Men have
Men
estrogen too.
have testosterone.
Female dominant.
Dominate hormone.
Correct.
Yes.
Female dominant hormone.
Yes.
And what's the male dominant hormone?
Testosterone.
Testosterone.
Isn't that what drives the world?
No.
Testosterone.
Testosterone.
That's what ruined the world.
Ruined the word.
Yeah.
You need it.
I know, that's what ruined the world, not
You need it.
Kim, the sad thing is that we can never test that. A
History.
world
No.
run by estrogen. We can never test it because we are in
Because
charge
we are behind
already.
the
We would
scene.
like to.
No, because we
You
behind
can
the
go create another world in mass
No,
and
no,
run it.
We're just behind the scene and we ruin it for that.
All right, okay. What other hormones? Let me move quickly forward.
Progesterone.
What is progesterone?
I don't know. I just know that.
Doctor, you just came out of a
I don't know.
4-day workshop. So progesterone, I think it's like a balancing indicator. It's a balancing of the expression of estrogen or testosterone. And then we have another one, DHEA. So these hormones, what is the job of hormones?
Balance.
Energize.
Conductor.
Conductor of what?
The whole body.
Correct.
The hormones conduct the whole body.
Yes, that's directly the whole body.
That is why I'm in menopause, when your hormones are down, you want to kill your husband. Right? And then you begin to say, oh, postpartum depression, where women kill their children.
Imbalance hormone. That was
It's an
imbalance.
imbalance. It causes you to be somebody different. So it's really a very powerful force inside of us, having your
That's what
hormones
causes depression.
imbalanced. Yes, causes depression and other things. Very important, guy. So how do we find your energy? How do we measure energy?
How high can you go?
There is no measure for it.
Yeah, there's no-
Yeah, people complain about what?
No energy.
No,
Fatigue.
fatigue.
Yeah, when you have fatigue all the time,
Then you don't have energy.
then we know there is something with your mitochondrial dysfunction or
But
your
isn't that
energy
a
system.
perception also?
No, it is not.
You can't measure fatigue.
Yeah, people who can't get out of bed.
Yeah, but I'm saying, but you cannot measure fatigue.
No, you can't. In some ways, there's a normal functioning and there is a non-functioning. If you cannot even get out of bed, right?
But that's also mental though.
Well, I don't know. If you don't have energy, you don't have energy. People faint because they don't have energy. So you can't say it's perception. There is no
That would
energy.
depress you if you don't have energy.
Yeah, if you don't have energy, you collapse.
You can't separate it.
Yeah, so it's not a perception. It's actually the fact that you don't have energy. Like when you're hungry and you have no energy, you have no energy. That's why most boxers lose, right? They run out of energy. Okay? So what about musculoskeletal?
Muscles.
Yeah, what do we measure? What do we measure?
By muscles. Can you measure?
No, we're measuring collagen. We're measuring the proteins, right? Your
That
level-
through then you have to do a blood test to know that because of the
Correct.
nutrients.
That's where we see all the proteins and all the nutrients that are inside your architecture. How do we know stress?
What question?
We know it from your cortisol, also from your urine. We run the cortisol test, right? Which show your stress hormone.
Not through your blood pressure.
No, blood pressure doesn't measure stress. It measures your blood flow. Stress affects your blood pressure, but we
Oh.
can't measure stress through your blood pressure. All right. So when we walk through, most of you have imbalances in all these areas. So we then add all the supplements that you need to take, right? Because to restore these balances, the body needs extra nutrients. That's what the body uses to run, nutrients, right? So it needs extra nutrient. So we add this plus that, then we go to R3, which is lifestyle support. And we have 9 areas of support, right?
You
We-
used to have 7, now you want to 9.
Yeah, we have macronutrients. What kind of support in macronutrients do we provide to you?
Fatty food, like fatty food,
Like those
like a
keto.
keto 360.
Yes.
The fatty,
And what else?
uh,
The functional foods like the protein drinks.
Oh, the protein.
Those are macronutrients.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And then what about the micronutrient support?
that's a supplement.
Yes,
Vitamins.
that's, for example, things like selenium, chromium, all those other things that we add because they are very important and they might not show up in these areas, right?
Right.
So for certain of us, copper, right, zinc, magnesium, manganese, especially for kidney function, you add those things because they're critical. They might not show up here, but we know that from a lifestyle perspective, we need it, like calcium, magnesium. You know, when I came back from Baltimore, on the plane, I was having this pain. Too many late nights drinking beer with friends. But I realized that I had not been taking my magnesium. So the minute I landed, I took magnesium before I went to bed. And in the morning, the pain, you know, dehydration is really a big issue with regard to sometimes having pain. All right, so let's look at sleep. So this is what I was explaining to Kim yesterday. The supplements to support sleep have nothing to do with these dysfunctions.
Yeah.
So this is a sleep support. So we have melatonin, GABA, and other things for sleep support. Right? Exercise. Detox. Right?
Yeah.
If you notice, detox is not part of an imbalance. Is ways for you to reduce the toxicity in your life. Right? And I can go further, but I want to go to the next one, which is R4. And we call this our protocols. And these ones are focused on diagnosed diseases. Say, for example, if you have cancer
Diabetic,
or if you have diabetes,
Alzheimer's.
because, yeah, with Alzheimer's, because for Alzheimer's, we have what we call the Bredesen protocol. That we know in 2 to 3 years, following that protocol, you could reverse, slow down, or actually prevent Alzheimer's. That's what we do here, and you can see the new posters outside. We reverse, we manage, and we prevent.
And that's with no drugs.
Yes,
Keto.
chronic illness.
Keto.
That's what
No sugar.
the food.
That's part of it.
That's
Yeah.
the Bradison.
That's the Bredesen protocol, but that's part of it.
Part of it.
Yeah, on the nutrition side. But there are lots of other things. So if you came here and you said, I have a diagnosis like MS, then we are going to have 4 sets of supplements groups that you need to take. Right? So you're going to have the mandatory that you should have been taking because the body then needs that. We're going to check the imbalances that you currently have. We're going to look at the areas of your lifestyle that you need support. and then we're going to look at what the requirements of the protocol are. Is that making sense? So that's why some people end up with 20 supplements that they're taking.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. Is that getting very clear? Right? Right? Is that very clear? Because I think that we have been making this recommendation, but it wasn't very clear the basis on which we're making the recommendation. So, when you test after 9 months or 12 months, when we look at your test results, then we'll make adjustments here and adjustments in your lifestyle as that's improving. So typically, every month we're making adjustments here. Oh, now I'm sleeping better, I don't need that anymore. Or I want to do a detox this month. You sense that? This one, we change it like 9 months or 1 year because it takes a long time for these imbalances to be resolved. Is that making sense? Any questions on this? Okay. So for all our current patients or customers, we are what's the word? We are reworking all your recommendations so that you have real clarity as to what you should be taking, right? Some of our patients are taking our recommendations to their doctors, and the doctors are saying you don't need it.
Of course.
So we need to be very clear about the knowledge that doctors have. Doctors are not educated in nutrition.
Right.
Zero education in nutrition. So they have no idea what we're talking about. So people go to their doctors and say, my doctor said I shouldn't take it. Well, why should somebody who is ignorant give you advice? Right? They don't know anything about nutrition. And nutrition and nutrigenomics is really at the core of health. God didn't say we should come here and take supplements. We're supplementing, and that's why it's called supplements. We're supplementing because of our food systems are devoid of all the minerals and vitamins that is required. So if you were eating organ meat, which is tongue, liver, intestines, and all of that, you will get a lot of the supplements. Sorry?
No, but the oh my God, what's organ meat?
The organ meat. But in American culture, people eat the muscle rather than the organ.
Yes.
Because you thought the organ was poor people meat. But the
No,
organ,
because they don't know how to cook it.
yeah, perhaps that is the
They
reason
don't know how
why.
to do it.
We never could have.
You don't know how to cook it, then what are you going to use with it?
Yeah,
You don't know how to
exactly.
cook it. Yeah.
And in the village, I hardly ever ate real meat. We always ate organ meat because that was what was dried and seasoned and always used for cooking. The beef was
Well, it's always been
treated
Asian cultures. They always eat the whole.
It's our delicacy for
That's
No,
okay.
no, you don't want to eat the liver because it's toxic.
If you want to have somebody it is very important to you,
you give organ.
organ meat.
Correct.
Yes, to be careful.
Exactly.
The organ has to be free range cooking. Yeah, you don't want to eat the bad animal liver.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
All right,
because-
so let me go back to the glutathione that I was showing you.
Yes.
This glutathione, I want you to look at the page that says what it may help you with. I am going to start using it today. And because King is always asking about the research, we put all the research behind. So
You
she
make
can,
it so small that we cannot read it.
you can go make a big copy
I'm
and
just
then.
kidding. I
yeah,
can Google online.
I know, right? So we're selling the glutathione, what, 160?
You said 159.
You said
I wasn't sure, Dr. E wasn't here.
I
What's the
think it's
price?
170 something, but we can sell it on.
150.
I Google online. It's 179.99.
Online.
Online 179.
Which online?
Even oh no, actually no, on the actual site, the skin.
They're
the-
selling on the same.
They sell on online also.
And so you see, I'm giving you at 150.
Yes.
That's why I'm keeping your word for it.
Seriously discounted.
That's why
Yeah.
you're in
I was just doing that a little bit.
But
because-
actually, it's only for today. Final offer.
They can believe it. They can believe it.
You can say I'm a Trump pipe, right?
Does it have an expiration
It can
date
leave.
on the glutathione?
I'm not sure.
It's a spray, so it has a longer
Yeah.
longevity. It's longer. It's
Check
still
whether
gonna
there's
expiration date, but it's
expiration. All right. Any questions? How we doing? We didn't get Soul today. Soul was supposed to be here. So can somebody? Where's Louise and Grace? Where are they? Do we have a patient?
In the back.
What are they doing in the back?
Patient.
Can you, is there a patient here?
Yeah, she just dropped off something.
Sorry?
She dropped off her urine. I'm figuring ready. Hey,
And
Grace,
by the way, they have a different type of product also.
Grace,
Yeah,
besides
can ask
Curcumin.
Grace to call Soul. Let's just find out where Soul is. She was supposed to be here
It
today.
has the antioxidant also.
Yeah,
There is no.
And
expiration date. But he compounded it in his pharmacy, so there might be no expiration date. So
It's a
yeah, so
compound, yeah, compound.
we ordered quite a few because I knew you guys would be urgently want them since the price is only today's price
Where do you spray it?
on your stomach
On your
and
stomach?
rub it. And you do it twice a day. The
Okay.
smell is disgusting,
Oh,
so you need
shit.
to do it before you shower.
It
And
has
then
a,
shower
it
it
has a
off.
pea smell.
No, sulfur smell.
Sulfur.
Yes, which is it's like rotten egg smell.
Can you spray the same location morning and afternoon?
Yes, it absorbs immediately.
Okay.
Yes.
Wait, you say spray them before you take a shower?
Yeah.
Well, yes, because
It
if
smells
you don't
bad.
want to take that smell with you where you go.
You have to wait for 30 minutes.
Yes. Well, is that a problem? So when
Yeah,
you
you
wake,
take a shower.
well,
before, you
hold
have to
up,
wait
Kim,
for 30 minutes.
Kim.
I'm
When
just
you wake,
asking.
Kim, when you wake up in the morning,
Yeah.
it takes more than 30 minutes before you shower. You have
No,
to
I shower.
drink your coffee. You have to poo. You have to do a lot of things.
It doesn't take 30 minutes.
All right, but make it 30 minutes. The minute you get
I'll
out
do them at
of,
nighttime
all right.
without shower.
All right.
If I have
Okay. Do it at nighttime, yeah, before you shower or in the morning. But you need to do it twice a day for more better
Oh, you do it
effectiveness.
twice a day?
Yeah. Okay. Any questions? So yes, I didn't introduce Solina. She's visiting from Korea. We met because she's also doing business in Hanoi. And so she arrived yesterday just to come visit. No, she has children here she's sorting out. And so we're going to be seeing her in Korea and we're going to do some partnering in Hanoi. So she's based.
What is your
Profession?
Yes.
I'm a professor at working for Incheon National University. You know Incheon, Incheon, the airport, Incheon National University.
Oh, it doesn't have anything to do with natural medicine.
She's focused on beauty.
Oh,
You didn't
Yeah.
wait for her to finish.
Yeah, I'm an organizing committee of an international school under Hanoi People's Committee. I'm doing some cooperative exchange program between Hanoi and Incheon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so she wants to collaborate with some of the work they're doing in Vietnam with our clinic there. Okay, so she stopped by today to attend the workshop.
That's wonderful.
Okay,
Nice to meet you.
Victor, how are we doing?
Good.
Okay, you're looking good. I like it.
I have an image of the body and the person that I want to be when I'm 72.
I love
It's a
that.
commitment I made about 5 years ago,
Wow.
and I only got about 9 months left. So I gotta get going. I can't procrastinate
I
anymore.
I like it. Thank you, Victor. That's really encouraging to all of us. So you can create that image of who you want to be, and then we can believe it and go for it. Thank you.
Modify it as you go along.
Yes, and modify, exactly. Yes,
Because the older you get, the better we become. And if you believe it, you're gonna try.
exactly. Thank
And
you.
that's
And,
why I'm here.
and that's the basis. Thank you, Victor. Thank you. And that's the basis that we build this clinic. You know, this is really our personal legacy also, a commitment to be healthy.
It's
Challenging. Yeah.
It's a choice.
Yeah, it's a choice. Yeah, actually, I say in the magazine, because we're working on a magazine, I say being healthy is a revolutionary choice, right? It's a revolutionary act because most people are not healthy. So those of us who've chosen to stay healthy, it's like a revolutionary act against the norm. Jad, how are you doing?
I'm okay, thank you.
Thanks for being here, Jad. We're going to review your labs and we'll give you some feedback on that. Thank you for giving that up. How are you doing?
Excellent.
Elizabeth.
Great. I was on a real
Actually, I played tennis with Elizabeth this morning.
and I lost.
Obviously.
I put that in there. Yes.
There's other things.
So I've been on a splurge this week. I've had 3 donuts in one day.
She did tell me.
And so like yesterday I really wanted more sugar, and I went to Sprouts, and I saw this guy going on to and he was eating all the good stuff, and I'm going, that's so inspiring. I'm eating that good stuff instead of continuing. And I said to him, wow, I'm very inspired by what you're choosing. And he said, you've got to take responsibility for your health today. And I'm like, have you been going to this clinic?
Do you know Charles?
So anyway, I'm kind of back on track with doing the right thing. At least I'm always taking my nutrients.
I think, Elizabeth, thank you for that, because we all sometimes fall off the tracks.
Yeah.
And then we find people who remind us and get back on.
Yeah.
Because I think the journey to a long life and a long and healthy life is a very, very important journey. And it is an expression of who we want to be. And, when I was in Baltimore, one of our friends there, the brother has advanced prostate cancer. And it's really challenging when you go into hospital and you see people who are really struggling to make choices between how much the chemotherapy or injection costs and whether they can afford it, right? And the question is, do you want to spend that money now and be healthy, or do you want to start struggling to spend it when people are almost dying? Right? 60% of American healthcare costs is spent in the last 6 months of life.
That's why older people health insurance is so expensive.
Yeah.
The older you get, the more expensive.
But the point is that as a culture, we want to spend money only when we're about to die, rather than when we're actually healthy and alive. Well, Kim, as usual, is here. How's Kim doing? That's it, Kim?
That's it.
All right, Kim has some orders for you guys, so Kim is going to be coming to give us orders. Thank you, staff team, for everything. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, and see you next Saturday. Thank you, guys. Have a good week.